Testing 1, 2. All right. Testing 1, 2. Raise the volume on this. What is going on, everybody? Hello, guys. So Donnie Rouse here, and I am back. I wanted to share something with you from my day because I think it would be very, very beneficial to you and just give you some perspective on life and how life works. So without further ado, hi, guys. My name is Donnie Rouse, and you are listening to the podcast, One Life, Unstoppable. This week's episode, I'm going to talk about my day in terms of how it unfolded and how you just expand in all areas of life. So this episode is really about real life in terms of how you feel day to day. So this day started off very busy. This time of year is the busiest time of year for me because a lot of my time is spent doing deliveries and doing production work, both roasting and brewing coffee. And in that mundaneness of life, right, doing the same thing, my weeks start to repeat, and they literally is just like a mirror image of one another. And so much time is dedicated to doing these tasks that it leaves very little time for me to expand in all the other projects that I have going on. So needless to say, it could feel a little bit stressful. One of the things I was doing, I was looking at a new moving out into a new apartment. But with the investments that I'm currently doing in my business, didn't really seem like a good time. So that left me feeling a little bit stressed. I called my cousin. Peter. I said, I was explaining it to him, and he went to, and I was explaining how a lot of this could be attributed just to me marketing a little bit better with my roasted coffee and taking some steps in online. And when I was talking with him, I was like, to be honest with you, I was like, it's not that there wasn't enough time, because time was just an excuse that I was using. The truth was that I was fearful of taking that next step. And the task is like, well, what is the fear? Like, there's really nothing to be afraid of. It was the fear of not doing it perfect. So the perfection paralysis. And so with that, I committed to him to actually do my first coffee ad by the end of the week, at least start playing around with it. So this way I started to get more familiar with it. Fast forward, I go to the gym, and I just finished my workout, and I was just feeling like really, really tense just because it seemed like my day wasn't mine. I was like running around, roasting coffee. And then by the time I got back, it was midday. I mean, it was late in the day, and I like to get my workouts done earlier so this way I can go to sleep earlier. But when my workouts happen later, that means I'm eating later and I have to wait to digest, and it just kind of throws off the next day. It's this endless cycle. But after my workout, I said, let me just go unwind. Let me go into the steam room. I go into the steam room, and one of the guys was spraying the spray all around the steam room, and I guess it was eucalyptus. And we started a conversation, and he asked me what I was doing, like what I did for a living. I said, well, I have a coffee business, and I also do life coaching. And I said, well, what do you do? And he went on to tell me about his work, how he was working in retail right now, but he had just left the job, and now he wants to go back to school to be a lawyer and then eventually have his own law firm. And his end goal, what he really wanted there, was he wanted freedom. He wanted to be able to be in charge of his own schedule and to be able to do more things in life that he wants to do and not be tied to someone else's schedule. And I had told him, I was like, well, the saying is that if you don't have a plan for your life, somebody else does. And he was like, well, yeah, isn't that true? He's like, you have no control over your life when you're working for somebody else. Then he asked me a question, and he said, question. I was like, go ahead, sure, shoot. What do you want to know? He's like, how do you expand in all areas of life? And I thought the question was kind of vague. Well, it was very vague because it was like he was addressing all of life. But I said, let me answer it anyways. I said, well, number one is gratitude. Because when you're grateful for what it is that you have, all of a sudden more seems to come into your life to be grateful for. But that could be a very, very challenging like mindset to get into at times, especially when things aren't going your way. But like anything, once you put yourself into that process, right? Once you spend maybe 5-10 minutes and all of a sudden your mind starts to shift, and then gratitude gradually comes in. And the second thing I told him was, I said, you need clarity. And he's like, well, can you elaborate? What exactly does that mean? So I said, well, imagine this. Imagine there is a picture. I was like, are you straight? He goes, yes. Okay. Imagine there is a picture there. There's a beautiful woman in that photo. But when you're looking at the body, everything is kind of blurred out and you can't really make out any curves. What is the emotional draw to that picture? And he looked at it and he thought about it. He's like, well, not much at all. You can't really make anything out. I was like, exactly. Now imagine that I took this same picture, we sharpened it. Now you can see every single detail, and we turn up the contrast so it's sharp, it's clear, it's vivid. How do you feel about it now? And he thought about it. He's like, oh my God. He's like, wow, yeah, I get it. I totally get it now. He's like, that's a perfect example. I was like, okay. So now you have this very clear image. What does that do for you? And he thought about it. I was like, do you feel more emotion? Do you feel less? And he's like, I feel more emotion. I said, of course. And what kind of action does that move you to want to take? He's like, I want to go talk to this girl. I said, exactly. That is the power of clarity. That's why the number one thing you need to move your life and expand in all areas of your life is you need to have clarity. Because with clarity, clarity is going to pull those emotional strings and it's going to move you to action. Change is never a matter of choice, never a matter of ability. It's always a matter of motivation. Tony Robbins is coined for saying that. It's amazing. It's so true. It's only when you have the leverage, the motivation, do you start to take action. And so the only thing left to do that after you've got that clear vision for your life or whatever category you want to focus on, and you have the emotional intensity that it is drawing you to it. The only thing to do after that is to take action. But this can be the hardest part, because when you're taking action, it's scary. There's a lot of unknowns. But when you're focused on what it is that you're going toward, when you're focused on what it is that you want, and the benefit that you're going to get as a result of getting it, now you're willing to jump over any crevasse, do whatever it takes in order, because you know that the long-term pleasure is going to be much, much greater than the short-term pain. After we, it was getting really, really hot. I was in the steam room for probably 20 minutes by that point. And, I said, good luck, see you later. And I walked out and I thought of that question. And I thought of what a gift it was. I was giving him advice in the steam room, but what a gift it was to me to remind me of all of the steps, the actions that I'm taking. And also a reminder to just keep pushing into that discomfort, keep focusing on what it is that I want and what tasks are going to get me that result. Because it's so easy to get lost in all the shit that comes your way, right? Because there's so many things coming, trying to get your attention and demanding your time. But if you want to be the leader of your life, then you have to choose how you spend your time. You have to choose where you put your focus. Do that, repeat it, and eventually you will get to that promised land. You will get your vision. And I want to coin that, which is noting that small changes compound the big results. I didn't finish that when I was talking to my cousin Peter, one of the things he had said, he's like, yeah, I don't have to tell you this, but he's like, always try to take some kind of action, because a small action at least gets you in the momentum. It's all stuff I knew, but it's great when other people remind you of it because sometimes we can't see in front of our face. Sometimes we could have all the answers, but we still get stuck in that hole. And so this is a kind of a formal thank you, Peter, for giving me that insight. And my friend from the locker room for asking that question, because it made me come back and realize the truth and understand that I'm to acknowledge myself for the actions I'm taking. Now, let me ask you a question. How often do you acknowledge yourself for the task, that the action that you are taking? It's easy to get hard on yourself and think that, like, oh, I'm not doing fast enough. That's what I always fall into. I'm like, it's not happening fast enough. But that's not how life happens. you know? And I used my life looking at how everything transpired with my coffee beverage called Roman. And that I couldn't have planned it better. If I wanted it to happen, if I wanted this entire thing to go from where I am now to where I want to be in a year, I couldn't have seen it happen because so many things over the last decade and a half have given me clarity, have guided me on the course. And I do say guided because I do believe that I'm divinely guided, because things just happen and there's no explanation. I get clarity on certain things. I meet people and there's no explanation other than to know that I am being guided somehow. So I want you to trust that you are guided. Trust in those little steps forward and keep taking the very next step, followed by the very next step. That is how momentum is built. That is how you expand in every area of your life. But then it also helps to have those people around you who remind you of the truth, who remind you that everything is fine and that you are doing good. You're doing more than good. You're doing great. But just keep up, keep pursuing. That is all I've got for you guys today. I hope you enjoyed this. I didn't really mean to come on here, but I literally just got back from the gym. And while this was fresh in my mind, while I had this experience in me, I wanted to come on here and share it with you. So I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please give it a thumbs up, hit that subscribe button. And if you have someone whom you feel could benefit from listening to this podcast, share it with them. That is all I've got for you guys today. Hope you enjoy this podcast. Remember, you only get one life. Live fully, live passionately, and most of all, live now. God bless you guys, and I will see you again soon.